Tonight, I'm joined by Deborah Letcher, who is our principal of the secondary school at the Werribee campus. But also in the background, I have Daniel Daroon, who's the head of the learning module for years 7 to 9, who will help answer your questions. And along with Daniel is Mary Tass, who is our acting head of learning module for years 10 to 12. Anissa Croxton, who is our enrollment officer and who also will be guiding you on our virtual tour a little bit later, along with Azuba Reddy, our events and community coordinator, will be assisting Anissa, and Mark Davey, our community engagement and development manager. So we've got a bit of a team behind the scenes who are also there helping us out tonight. So while we're joining together from different homes around our city, I would like to begin by recognising the first custodians of the land on which Heathdale Christian College Werribee campus stands, the place where we live, work and learn. We would like to acknowledge that the Bunurong people are the traditional custodians of the lands on which our community is being built. And we give thanks to our Almighty Creator God for their care and stewardship of this land, and pay our respects to their leaders, past, present and emerging, and for any Aboriginal people present today. And we also pray for ongoing healing in damaged relationships between our Indigenous brothers and sisters and all non-Indigenous Australians, and seek God's work of reconciliation in all of our human relationships. Just before we move into the formalities of this evening, I'd like to ask you a simple question. And I would ask, could I please ask you to let me know how you first heard about Heathdale? You know, whether it was from somebody you knew, you're a past student, you came across us on the website, you happened to be driving down Derrimut Road. I don't know, how did you come to first hear about Heathdale? So what we'd like you to do, if you wouldn't mind, is to pop your answer into the chat or onto the Q&A tab, which will be a little bit of a practice for later if you want to ask us a question. So, and what I'll do is I'll just check out in a moment to see how people have come to hear about Heathdale, and it'll be really interesting to see from those who are online with us tonight about what is already your previous connection with us. But while you're putting that into the chat, I might just explain a little bit more about what we'll be doing this evening. So tonight, we start our journey together. And along the way, we'll have many chances to connect. Hopefully, most of those will be in person, as well as those opportunities to do these virtually or online. But I will begin tonight by sharing a little bit with you about Heathdale's history and how we believe Heathdale's unique style of Christian education helps your child to develop their God-given potential. Then after I've finished speaking, Deb's going to come and talk to you and give you a brief about what it looks like and how the things that I'll speak about practically work out their way through the educational and co-curricular programs within the secondary school. And following Deb, Anissa will then take you on a virtual guided tour of the secondary school spaces on the Werribee campus. And then towards the end, Deb and I will rejoin you and answer some of your questions, and as well as to assist you as you think and plan about your child's education. Because we recognise this is a really important decision to make, and we hope we can bring some clarity and further information to help you make the best decision about this most important decision you've got to make. So please, if you have any questions at any time, just put them into the chat and we'll do our best to answer them. It might be Deb, or it might be myself, or it might be the team who are doing the work behind in the background. But please make sure that you ask those questions. And then as our time together draws to a conclusion, I'll work through some of the next steps with you regarding our enrolment process for 2023. You know, before we begin though, it's our tradition that when we gather as a school community, we always pray and ask for God's blessing on our families, students and the Heathdale Christian College community. So if you wouldn't mind, would you mind joining with me as I lead you in a time of prayer? So let's pray. Gracious God and Heavenly Father, thank you. Thank you for this time that we can have together this evening. We also give you thanks for all the things that have happened throughout this day. And as those things start to wash away and we spend some time hearing about Heathdale, we ask that we will be able to speak with clarity, help answer those questions that are asked, but also help people make the decisions that they need to make. Lord, just bless our time together. Bless each family that is represented through this, who have joined us online this evening. This we pray in Jesus' precious name. Amen. So let's start by sharing a brief history and the reasons why we are who we are here at Heathdale. You know, this will give you some insight to our Christian ethos, which continues to underpin all that we do and the very day-to-day operations of the college. But before I go any further into that in some detail, I want to play you a short video about our college's history and its original founder. And it will help give you a little bit of background to understand what I will share with you after this clip. So enjoy watching this clip. We're just having a couple of little technical difficulties here, which is a little bit frustrating, to be honest, because we've actually had this playing before and we were ready to go. What this clip is going to hopefully be able to show you is that how when the school first started just under 40 years ago, and why we came together. And it was Reverend Joe Westlake. It was the person who was actually was the very first one who said, hey, why don't we consider starting a Christian school in the West for the families of the West? And as he did that, and he took the opportunity to put an ad in the paper to see if there would be others who were interested in that. And there was a first meeting that was held here in Werribee, and from that, the school was begun. And then we've continued to grow. Hopefully, we'll be able to get you to see this clip right now.
On the very fringe of Hoppers Crossing, the land Reverend Joe Westlake had pegged out for a new Christian school was sparse. Heaths Road was still a dirt track. Reverend Joe knew he was called to provide a school focused on providing Christian education in the West. Reverend Joe recalled, there were many difficulties, but our problems were God's opportunities. 2 weeks before school began, the school site was still bare, but God had been faithful and will continue to be. Car parks were pegged out, portables located, furniture moved in, power lines connected, trenches dug. It was all hands on deck. We stepped out in faith and moved into the school. God has continued to be faithful ever since. Some 37 years later, Reverend Joe could never have imagined what God had in store for the area, or for our Werribee and Melton communities, but nor would he have been surprised. In the words of the Reverend, if the original vision was of God, it is unlikely that he would change it, although he may expound it. He is, after all, the sovereign created God, but he continually works for good with those who love and trust him. My prayer is that he who brought the college into existence may continue to guard it and guide it into a future enhanced for his glory.
I hope you really enjoyed that. You know, the college has grown considerably from those 37 students at Heathdale that started just on 39 years ago. Today, we've grown to almost 1,800 students across 2 campuses, both at Werribee and Melton, and with kindergarten to year 12 students here on the Werribee campus. In secondary, we have a vibrant learning community of years 7 to 12 students that extends the foundation set out in our primary years and continues to encourage them to become lifelong learners well beyond their time at Heathdale. As you've just heard, our founding family's key desire for Heathdale Christian College was that they wanted their children to learn within a context that openly acknowledges God is intrinsic to all aspects of life. And this tradition continues to this day and is really the strong umbrella that links both of our campuses. See, our teachers see the students before them as a gift. Firstly, to parents and families from God. This is a young person who requires training from an educational, emotional, social, physical, intellectual, spiritual perspective. And the whole child is unique and a one-off person. And each child must be supported and nurtured. And we aim to demonstrate this in the core programs that we offer, our subjects, our morning devotions, and our staff who work with us, such as teachers, pastoral care, our learning enhancement team and staff, and who also walk alongside the teaching staff and our students. See, I believe it's this multifaceted approach that forms our distinctive from other schools in this region. This distinctive is driven by one of our key foundation theological beliefs, that God has called you as parents and as guardians to raise your children within the context of your own family unit. See, the staff and I do not want to undermine that God-given authority to parents, but rather we desire to partner with you to educate, support and assist the students, your children, to reach their own God-given potential as you raise them. And we hope to do this through providing high quality, deep and rich learning experiences, as well as speak into these young lives to help them to discover and develop their gifts and talents and to develop their individual character. So that's enough now from me. I'd like to now hand it over to Deborah Letcher, who will give you a brief picture on how it looks in the classroom at the secondary school here at the Werribee campus. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you so much, Ross. Hello, my name's Deborah Letcher and I have the privilege of serving as the Principal of Secondary at our Werribee campus. The start of secondary school, which is, I imagine, what most of you are thinking about at this time, is an exciting time for students and families. Particularly the 7 to 9 years are really critical for developing a sense of individual identity and taking those important steps towards maturity and independence. We want to really value our students as individuals, and you might be aware that our college mission statement is to provide Christ-centred education that helps each child to reach their God-given potential. So I like to say we're not a cookie cutter school. There's not just one way to succeed at Heathdale. Success is measured on a student reaching their own potential and then finding the resources to access the next part of their own journey. We love nurturing young adolescents. They're curious and enthusiastic, they're often surprising, and of course, really importantly at this age, they are changing physically, socially, and emotionally. They're changing at home and they're changing at school. And critically, during this time, we want them to be growing in their learning as well as all the other growing they're doing. Heathdale aims, therefore, in those early years to lay solid foundations for the senior studies that are going to come later and to ensure that each child is gaining secure footholds academically as they progress through secondary schooling. We want to prepare these young people to be lifelong learners who are able to use their skills and have the confidence to meet the challenges of senior high school. And then looking forward from that, we want to prepare them to access further study and work and make valuable contribution to their communities. It's critical that a school grows each child academically, and we have a strong focus on helping children to improve from whatever level they are currently at. This means we monitor students' progress and we provide additional help for those who might be in need of extra support or extra extension through our Learning Enhancement team. From Year 9 onwards, the students have an increasing choice in the subjects which they pursue. In Year 7 and 8, everybody has an opportunity to try everything. From Year 7 and 9 and then 11 and 12, we start to look forward to that choice, and that culminates in our VCE subject offerings. At Heathdale, we offer both VCE and VCAL certificates for Years 11 and 12. And this year, our Year 10 students who are going into VCE next year were able to select from a variety of 40 subjects across VCAL and VCE, providing them with one of the broadest selections in the Western region. Our careers program really helps students to understand what their options are when planning future study and work. And this includes all our Year 10 students completing Moresby Careers Testing, which is an internationally recognised standard for careers and vocational guidance. And this is followed up in Years 10, 11 and 12 with interviews for parents and students with our Pathways coordinators. To flourish, I do believe young adolescents also need good boundaries, and they need support while they learn to stretch their own wings and find their independence. And that's the journey we embark on with our students in partnership with you, their guardians and parents. Coupled with our academic offerings and the Career Pathway program, there are extensive opportunities for house and team activities beyond the classroom. We have public speaking, we have chess teams, debating, choirs, Minecraft club, orchestras, musicals, inter-school sports. They're all part of life in a regular school year. We have a number of areas in which students can also develop their leadership abilities, and opportunities exist to do many things in the service of others. Our student-led fundraising efforts nurture our students in their awareness of their impact on the world around them and provide students avenues for them to grow in their servant leadership abilities. Now, as Ross said before, we know that choosing a school is a serious commitment for parents, and we want to be part of that journey in growing your young person towards adulthood. As a well-resourced school, both at our Melton and Werribee campuses, we have a clear structure, a wealth of experienced teachers, a well-established and engaging learning program, and a desire to see teenagers thrive and become wonderful young women and men. I'm really excited about the next chapter for Heathdale as we continue to grow, and I do hope your family will be part of that story too. I'm now going to hand over to Anissa, who's going to take us on a virtual guided tour through some of our wonderful secondary spaces around the Werribee campus, and then I'll be back with Ross for question and answer at the end.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Deb. Welcome to our virtual tour. I'm sorry that I'm not able to do this in person at the moment, but I hope this will just give you a little snapshot as to our college and our grounds, and be excited to hopefully show you around in person sometime from 2022 onwards. So we're actually going to start our tour in our secondary courtyard, and this provides a space for our secondary students, and it's a really great gathering space, whether it's for recreation, outdoor classes in the sunshine, which didn't obviously happen today, or meeting for important events such as our Remembrance Day service that we'll be holding tomorrow. It's the hub of our school, and it connects all our students together. This area is surrounded by our Year 9 to 12 homerooms on 2 levels, the secondary office where Mrs. Letcher has her office, and also our homes who are in the background this evening, the very important VCAL Cafe, the resource centre and staff offices. As I said, the VCAL Cafe is a particularly busy place with students able to engage in hands-on learning and practical business skills by running a cafe as a group, and we get to benefit as a staff from that. Usually on our visitors day, our VCAL students would be providing you, if you come on site, with a coffee or a tea. So it just means that next year when we open up, you'll have to come back and do a tour in person, and we'll see if we can get you that cup of coffee or that cup of tea. Connected to our secondary courtyard is our resource centre, or our library. We love to nurture a love of reading in every year level, and this begins in our separate primary library at the rear of the building, and then we have a separate secondary space at the front part of the building. There are different areas within our resource centre for age-appropriate books and settings. There's private study spaces for our secondary students, and as we spin around, there's a bank of computers for use during class time. By 2023, all of our secondary year levels will have one-to-one devices, which will be provided by the college. It's not an extra expense for parents. One of our popular places in the school is our recently refurbished gymnasium, and this is at the rear of our campus grounds. You can see our lovely shiny new floor there and our signage that's been put up. Downstairs houses 2 full-size basketball courts, spectator seating and change rooms. The court area, which also has lines for netball, badminton, volleyball, indoor soccer and downball, can be used as one big space, as you see here, or there is a drop-down net from the ceiling that can divide the space into 2. On any given day, you may see students undergoing the dreaded beep test, learning the finer points of volleyball, or playing soccer against a staff team during one of the student organised lunchtime sports competitions. So this is a very, very popular place in the school. Upstairs is our home to our strength and conditioning gymnasium, and it's almost as good as what you would see in a professional setup. And it's also a classroom environment for theoretical studies. Secondary students who study health and human development, sport and rec, or PE have access to this equipment as they learn about different muscle groups and the impact of exercise, whether good or bad. In Year 7 and 8, students study 8 creative and practical subjects over these 2 years. Food technology is one of these subjects, and our food tech kitchen is fully equipped to encourage students to cook delicious food. Students learn the basics of food handling and preparation skills and work up to cooking a meal for their family. They also learn the very, very important skill of cleaning up after themselves by washing the dishes and wiping down their workspaces. So there's no excuse when they come home to say that they don't know what they're doing. The highlight of this food tech curriculum is an international banquet where students prepare and cook food from their family heritage and share it with their classmates. So we're a very multicultural school here, so there's lots and lots of different foods that students can enjoy, and we also cater for allergies and things like that. That's all worked out through the curriculum with the various ingredients. At Heathdale, we also, as alluded to, offer VET and VCAL courses for students who are not necessarily looking to go to university. And our commercial kitchen is one of these hands-on training environments. This is a place where students can get a feel for working in a high-level kitchen and learn about the ins and outs of the commercial restaurant business. So again, lots of amazing things come out of this kitchen, and if you're ever walking past in a tour and you can smell what they produce, it's worth being lured in just to see what they're doing at this space. As previously mentioned, our VCAL Cafe provides students with practical skills associated with hospitality and running a small business. The big bonus is, of course, for staff and our higher secondary students that they also sell hot drinks, toasties and other goodies on certain days that we can purchase. We're all very happy to help our VCAL students practice, and the money raised goes towards supporting the Rehoboth's Children's Home in the Philippines, which is an orphanage that we've had a long-standing partnership with the college and the students here. Our science labs are practical spaces to explore the worlds of biology, chemistry and the outworkings of physics in the real world. Here, our students will engage their curiosity and explore the world God has made them through hypothesis and experimentation, of course, all within a safe working environment. So all the equipment is there to keep students safe. The last stop on this part of the tour is our Year 12 common room. This is a special extended space for our Year 12s to gather around food and around learning. The flexible furniture is great for them to relax between classes and during lunch or recess. We're now going to move to one of the other most popular places in our school, which is our Creative Arts building. And this runs along the front of our campus. It's probably the building, if you've driven past on Derrimut Road, that you would see as you're driving past. And this is available to students from years 5 to 12. So from the tinkling of the ivories on the grand piano to the whir of a drill in our woodwork space, it is very much a hive of activity. Over 2 levels, the building is divided into different zones for music, art, graphics and visual communication, woodwork, metalwork, systems engineering, and our drama and textile rooms. As I said previously, our Year 7 and 8 students study 8 creative and practical subjects. These include art, music, graphics, drama, food tech, computing, textiles and industrial design, and all but food tech is conducted in this creative arts building. And as they enter into the higher secondary year levels, they have the opportunity to continue those subjects into those higher year levels. So right now we're in our main foyer, and our fantastic teachers regularly update this space and the hallways throughout the year to display student artwork and inspire others. And as we enter through into the corridor, we have our Year 5 to 8 art room on the left-hand side. And again, lots of displays on the wall there of students' artwork. And then to the right would be our Year 9 to 12 art space. And this has a separate room dedicated to housing the artwork that our VCE students are working on, which is often done through the course of the year, so we keep that safe for assessment. Over their education, students are exposed from Year 5 right through to a wide range of mediums, exploring different art periods and developing their own aesthetic. Next, we move into the visual communications room, and this facilitates our design and media subjects that we offer from Year 9 upwards. There is currently a suite of Mac computers in this space as we continue to provide the most appropriate tools for our students. But there is also a dark room located off this room, so students, especially in this modern world, learn that the process doesn't have to be all about digital and immediate results. Our graphics room allows our Year 7 and 8 students to develop a foothold in the design space through a mix of both computer programmed and hand-drawn projects. And as you can see, it's light and bright and lots of natural space for them to work through. Next, we'll jump into our music space. This is our music auditorium, which more affectionately known throughout the school as our fishbowl. If you see it from the outside, it looks like a fishbowl. And this is a rehearsal space for our college orchestra, our choirs, and will become a major part of the rehearsals for our 2022 school musical, The Sound of Music. These rehearsals will be held either during lunchtime or after school. We also have 2 other large rehearsal and performance spaces for students to engage in ensemble bands and learn how to manage live PA equipment. These 2 rooms, along with our specially built vocal booth, are connected to our on-site recording studio, where our senior secondary students take their recording skills to the next level. The keyboard lab is a core facility of our music program. Students will learn the basics of guitar and keyboard in Year 7 and 8, and then can also try their hand at composing. These spaces are continually being updated with the latest technology, and it currently looks completely different to this layout. We now have group environments and things called jam hubs, so students can play together silently using headphones in class. Completing our music area are a number of small practice rooms. These are utilised by our on-site private music teachers, as well as students rehearsing their solo repertoire. So this is one of our rehearsal spaces for the piano. Upstairs in our creative arts building, we have a 100-seat cinema where students can watch a film text for English, or this will hold a whole year level, so they can do year level meetings or different activities in this space. As part of our drama area, we have what we call a black box theatre set up, and this provides students with a sense of a real stage, complete with lighting and now a backstage space. The area will be very well utilised over the coming months, again, as we look to rehearse for our 2020 musical, which will be held in July. On the opposite side of the corridor, and completely different in feel, is this large light-filled drama and dance space. These 2 rooms are separated by a prop and costume closet that houses many items from past musicals and performances. As you walk down the corridor, you'll see on the wall photos and posters from the college's previous musicals, which have included Oliver, Oklahoma, Fiddler on the Roof, and Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Our musicals are not just for the performers on stage. Students can also be a part of the orchestra, the backstage crew, hair and makeup, the costume department, or front of house. The final rooms on this level are a computer room where students can design 3D models for systems engineering and 3D printing. Across the corridor is our textiles room, and this is where students can embrace fashion and again help in musical costumes and things like that. But this is one of the subjects that they offer in the Year 7 and 8 space. Our final stop is the large practical wood and metal shops, which are downstairs. These spaces are a haven for our more handy students. Over the years, they can progress from making small toys to designing and building their own fine furniture in vet furniture making. So again, light and bright and airy, and lots of space for the students to be able to learn the different equipment and to learn some different skills on the way. This brings our main secondary tour to a close. On the virtual tour, it is a little hard to get a sense of how we space out everything and keep the small skill feeling that each child is known. So I'm going to ask Azuba to put up a college map for you. As you can see, our secondary space is towards the top right of the campus, and our primary areas are towards the middle. There are some crossovers as such in regards to the resource centre and the canteen. And then our early learning years precinct, which contains our kinder and prep, is down towards the bottom left of the college. The virtual tour we've just walked through today would usually happen during the school day, and on a visitor's day you would even get the pleasure of having some of our student leaders take you on this tour. As I said earlier, I hope in the near future that I can look forward to welcoming you on site in person and taking you around to see our spaces with our students in class. But right now I'm going to hand back over to Ross. So thank you everybody, and I hope to meet you all soon.
Thanks, Anissa. What a wonderful tour, you know, and even though I work here, I felt like going, oh, I've got to go and explore that space, and I've got to go and check out that space. So thank you so much, and I hope you at home just got a real bit of a taste of what our campus here at Werribee is like. And also, I just realised that before we jumped straight into the evening, and I forgot to go back and check on what people had said, how they came to find out first about Heathdale. So thanks for those who put something in the chat. It's good to see that someone said, no, I saw my first understanding of Heathdale was the big sign as I drove past on Derrimut Road. That's good. There's been people from their website, others who have got some friends. And there was even there someone who's gone and said, hey, my wife was a past student. So Larissa, g'day to you and welcome back. And and also through the play group that's run by our church at Werribee, next door to the Werribee campus. So thanks for those people who put those things in the chat earlier. And my apologies that I didn't acknowledge it from now. You know, I've also got something really exciting news for you. I just want to get Azuba to show you the top part of that map that was chopped off, because in that space we are currently in the process of delivering a new facility, a purpose-built for years 7 to 8 for 2022. We're calling it the Village, and it will sit along adjacent to our gymnasium. And I've got a couple of bird's eye views to show you, just to give you an idea and to whet your appetite about this space that will be catering for our younger secondary students, as well as housing classroom environment for our year 7 and 8 classes. It'll also contain 2 science laboratories, plenty of recreational and garden and play spaces for the students, including 2 newly laid outdoor basketball courts. You know, we're really excited about this first step of our most recent master plan for the Werribee campus, and we're really looking forward to how this will serve our students and our staff into the future. So, hey, I also need to let you know, you're probably one of the first groups outside of the college that have had a chance to see our village. So spread the word. We're doing it well. So I hope that's been something that you've appreciated. So that's just a little bonus for you. All right, Deb, I might ask you to come back and join me if that's okay, because there's a chance to ask some questions. And I noticed that we've already got a few questions that have started to come our way. And maybe if you wouldn't mind, I might read them out and you might respond first. So one of the first questions sits around scholarships, and that's a question that we often get asked, isn't it? And especially as an independent school, a lot of people assume that we will also have scholarships like some of the other schools. So what do we do at Heathdale with regards to scholarships?
Well, we don't currently have scholarships, Ross, and what we do have is if there is more than one child at the school, we reduce the subsequent fees for siblings. We are aware that education is a really serious commitment financially. I have 3 children at the school, so I'm aware of that too. We don't have a long history and we don't have scholarships. Neither do we have entrance tests.
Yeah.
We have discussions with families on a one-on-one level to look at the fit between what you're looking for as a family and who we are as a school. We've mentioned before that word partnership, which is so important to us. And it is a partnership that we join into. So we're not a school that's screening and trying to get a certain type of student. We're trying to get a relationship established between your family and us as a school, and to be there as part of your child's lives.
Yeah.
Hope that answers the question.
No, that's good. No, I'm glad you touched on that though, Deb. You're right. So we're not a select entry school, and we deliberately have not chosen to go into that space. But we're actually a broad-based school, isn't it? Because, you know, this is part of where we talk about that we see each student's God-given potential. So it's actually about seeing that potential emerged and then flourish and develop. And so maybe if you could let the folks know, you know, when you have some of these conversations of enrolment conversations, and even once they're further conversations with family, how you unpack that thing about helping to allow that God-given potential to emerge and flourish?
Well, it starts with the application pack, really, where we try to spell out really clearly what we are aiming to do as a school so that you can reflect on that and talk about how it fits with your family values. And then we have a conversation in our interview between you as mum and dad and with your son or daughter, your child there with us. And I talk to mum and dad, but I also talk to the student and I ask them about their interests, about their hopes, their goals. What do they see as their strengths in learning? What do they want to improve on? And that helps us to get to know the students, gives the student as well as mum and dad a chance to ask me questions. And I get asked some really interesting questions.
That's good.
And that's the beginning of a relationship.
And I would also too imagine, because you're dealing with secondary age students, and so yes, the majority of our enrolments is at year 7, but it is throughout, you know, the students are actually also a little bit old enough now to actually have some input in that decision.
And particularly if they're moving from another school into year 9, 10 or 11, they've already experienced a lot of secondary life.
Yep.
And I talk quite a lot to them about what it'll be like at our school and give them an opportunity to see what some of the differences will be. And then I always encourage them, now you go away and have a good chat with mum and dad, because everybody in this relationship needs to be on board. Yeah,
good. Hey, thanks, Deb, for sharing that. I was noticing that another question has just come through with regards to asking about the role of technology and devices, in particular, in terms of the learning and stuff. So talk to us a bit about, from a secondary perspective, when we had an information night for the primary school, we were talking about that they were very much a part of just the general classroom. There's groups of devices that students use and share. Is that the same experience from the secondary school, or is it a different approach?
Well, we've really moved in the last couple of years to a one-to-one device rollout across secondary. So next year in secondary really sees almost the completion of that. Our 7s to 11s next year will all have a school-issued device, and our year 12s will have their own brought-from-home devices they've had this year. And going on the year after, you'll pick up your device in year 7 and have it refreshed in year 10, and that's issued by the school as a learning tool. We do a lot of talking in the classroom. We do a lot of orientation and induction around those devices, not just so students know how to use them, but students know how to use them well and use them for the right things. And, you know, a lot of parents think of technology in learning as just about, is there a laptop in front of my students? But that's only really a small part of the technology at Heathdale.
Sure.
We have data projectors in every room which teachers can use if they want the focus to be on the big screen. We have things like a new laser cutter that's coming into our design tech area next year. We have our 3D printers, we have our robotics area. And then although our kids all have their devices, their Surface Pro, we do have our engineering computers, which is a special lab that really focuses on the needs of those higher end design.
And also some of the visual design stuff that often happens, say, more so 11 and 12, but 10, 11 and 12.
Yeah, and different things in our science area. We could really go on and on, but it's about giving students the tools that they can use to learn, to grow, to explore, and then to be able to express their learning in dynamic ways.
So when you touched on before about, I liked your statement about where there'll be teachers you're having using data projectors and getting the students focus all one spot into one part of the room. So the sense of this sounds very much about, we use the language here of a blended learning model with a device. So do you want to just unpack for the families at home what we at Heathdale mean by a blended learning model?
Yeah, and in short, it simply means that we take the best of digital technology and non-digital technology to craft learning experiences that best fit for that particular student and for the particular thing we're learning. You know, I think we all have realised in the last couple of years that merely the presence of technology does not guarantee a super learning experience. We're so grateful for computers in the last couple of years, but I think more than ever we know that great learning happens in a social context, and that sometimes it's great to be learning a computer, sometimes it's great to put the computer away and to be learning in a different way. And so we empower our teachers to make those decisions and encourage students to get involved in all sorts of ways in their learning.
But I would imagine too, the idea of it's moments to say, hey, okay, guys, it's turn your computers off or shut your computers down, also speaks into the fact that students also learn differently. And it's actually about catering for those differences in their learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you talked about the big screen experience. There's times where you really want the teacher to have everybody focused on the one thing, and that's important as well. And so we really talk about the teachers and the students learning to be in charge of their technology rather than the technology being in charge of them.
Good point. Hey, look, if you wouldn't mind, we might move off that. I'm just going to start to think about the students because, as I said before, we're a community and we do life together, and we do it in a way that we say the way God is actually seeing the pattern of life, and that's really important to us. So, you know, the majority of our students in our secondary school actually are coming to us through the primary school, but there is still an intake of new students, yes, at Year 7, but also, as you said before, throughout the secondary school. So if I'm a newbie on the block, you know, what do you do when I'm coming into a community that has been well established for a number of years? How do you support those students?
Well, I think at Year 7, we're really conscious that, yes, we have a lot of students who are new to Heathdale, but we also have a lot of students who are new to secondary. So at Year 7 level, we do roll out quite a lot of orientation as we get used to secondary routines. And we have our camp at Year 7 early in the year. And we try and also have a homeroom teacher that knows students really well. So if your student is new to Heathdale, they are going to be under the care of a homeroom teacher who's going to look after them, make sure there's someone to buddy with them in that first few important weeks, make sure they know where to go to find their homeroom teacher, to find help, to find the office if they need to ask a question, to find our pastoral care team. And we actually train students at each year level to be orientation guides. So if you arrive in Year 9, there will be a couple of Year 9 students who have actually gone through a little bit of a training with our pastoral care, who will take you on your first day. They have a checklist of things to show you. They'll take you to IT and get you logged on and all of those sort of things, and they'll help orientate you and bring you in. Belonging's really important to us.
Yeah.
And that's something we want students to feel from the first day.
No, that's true. And I think, that sense of belonging is really core to who we are, because we really are known as a strong community. And so the sense of being a very welcoming community, and, maybe this is where I tell you a little bit of my own story, because, I've been a part of this community now for over 5 years. But when I first arrived, I was overwhelmed by the welcomeness of that, rather than being, what's this newbie doing? There was a sense of being embraced. And I see that the students do that. And so, sorry, I was talking about the staff there. but I see the students actually do that to newbie students as well, which is good.
And that's a wonderful thing. We often talk in particular, all through our secondary really, about 3 aspects of our culture that we want students to be very aware of, and that's safety, dignity and belonging. We want everyone to feel safe and welcome at school, everyone to feel respected and to respect others, and then everyone to feel like they have a place, that they belong, that they're part of it.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thanks for saying that. There's a couple of other questions now that sort of sit probably more to the direct towards the curriculum. So there's a question that talks about that, and this is in a couple of other schools in our region. They actually have these accelerated programs, and so it's different even to a select entry, but there's an accelerated program. So what do we do here at Heathdale?
Well, at Heathdale, we do talk a lot about differentiation, and a big word basically means recognising that within any given classroom, students are at different stages in their learning in pretty much anything you're talking about. And so rather than an acceleration program where we take students out of their peers and put them really separately, we've really been working with staff and with our learning enhancement program to create extension opportunities within the classroom and to make sure that at any given point when a group is learning about something, that we're taking into account the many different starting points from which those students may be going in. When my children were young, our paediatrician once said to me when I was trying to work out what year to send my kids to school, you might still remember that dilemma, and she said, Debbie, education's not a race. And that was a really helpful thing to say. And so we really focus on making the most of every year. And that means if you need extension in that year, you shouldn't just be coasting along in that year. We should be making the most of that. And that's why I talked about the fact that we track growth really closely so that we know whether students are ready for next steps.
But also, would you actually provide opportunities? So, for example, some of our Year 10 students to be able to access a Year 11 subject, and so they might do Units 1 and 2 of VCE, or even some of our Year 11 students to do a Unit 3 or 4 or a Year 12 subject. Is that something that we
do have some of that, but we do that in a fairly limited way because it has a benefit to a certain point. But it also, if you're taking too many Year 12 subjects at Year 11, some of the benefits start to get outweighed by the downside. But we do have some accelerated subjects. We also have opportunities for students to be in extra programs, basically. So we have at 7, at Year 7 and 8 level, we have the Socrates Club, which develops creative and philosophical thinking. We have opportunities to be in competitions, to form teams that compete against other schools, to develop specific skills. For many years, we've done the Linguistics Olympiad and things like that. And so we try and look at students' unique talents and say, how can we give you an opportunity? And, extension is not just in the academic subjects either.
That's true.
It's the opportunities. If you are brilliant in sports or if you're brilliant in art, how are we finding ways for you to use the gifts God has given you?
Good. Thank you. Thanks for that. So there was another question about, though, and you touched on it, I think, before, that looked about using, sort of the systems engineering stuff. So STEM, the STEM is a number of schools would build a real focus around STEM. So where does that sit within the Heathdale experience?
Well, sometimes in some schools, STEM looks like an amalgamated subject that happens together. It doesn't quite look like that at Heathdale, at least not in the Year 7 to 8 years. Maths, design technology, science, they're all disciplines of their own that have their own unique content and skills, and we want students to understand those deeply. Once you start, it doesn't mean though that in those subjects, if you're doing science, that you're not also bringing in maths, and if you're doing design technology, that you're not also thinking about maths and sustainability and a whole stack of things.
Yep.
When we get to 9 and 10 though, you start to see those more integrated subjects developing. So for example, you can pick up engineering at year 9 and year 10, and when you're doing robotics, for example, you're starting to pull into all those different facets of learning. There's some computing, there's some science, there's forces, there's maths, all of that's happening built in together. And then by the time you get to VCE, you really are looking at a really wide range of disciplines in those STEM subjects.
Yeah. Trouble is when you talk like that, Deb, I actually think it's time for me to finish up being an executive principal and re-enroll back in secondary school. So the opportunities that sit there for a student now, and I reflect back onto the very narrow, very structured, very tight learning experiences that I went through. And you go, oh, wow, how good is that? And so,
yeah, one of our year 10s in August was trying to pick one of our year 9s was trying to pick their year 10 subjects in August. And they just said, look, I just can't choose. I want to do more than I'm allowed. And I said jokingly, I'll wait till you get to year 11. You can only do 6 subjects. And their face just fell. How on earth am I going to?
Only 6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
good.
we give them a lot of help with those choices. And it's wonderful to see students who just can't wait to learn more.
That's good. Two more questions to go. And one of them is actually, it's not on the screen, it's from me. Deb, I was looking for Ziva. So where's Ziva?
So Ziva is our 18-month-old black Labrador who is our school dog. She's our school well-being dog, really. And Ziva is one of the most obvious ways that we have pastoral care for students, that we care for their well-being and their happiness at school and their stress release. The non-four-legged members of our pastoral care team, though, are probably more important than Ziva thinks she is. So we do have a really strong pastoral care community. That starts with the homeroom teacher, but we also have a pastoral care office. Our students know where it is. They get to know our pastoral carers during the year with, they might come speak in year level, they might run a program of on really important issues like dignity and respect and things like that. And also they're there to drop in. Sometimes our students are distressed. Sometimes our students just need someone to talk through an issue with, and they can access that anytime. And if they don't want to talk to anyone and they just want to pat somebody, then Ziva's the pastoral carer they go to.
And they get plenty of love and attention. But I think, one of the things you touched on, you're right, we've got dedicated people who serve in that pastoral care. But I remember having a conversation with a group of the staff over morning tea one day, and what struck me was that every staff member, whether they're a homeroom teacher or not, whether they were even part of the pastoral care team or not, they all saw part of their responsibility was the care of the students, or what they said was, we look after the kids who have been placed in our care. And I think that is foundational to the way we go from there.
Yeah, so, and absolutely. It might be the pastoral care team that is, it might be the woodwork teacher or the sport teacher. And that teacher will down tools and be ready to listen. Yeah,
that's good. Thanks, Deb. The last question for me is, I'll take the last one if that's okay. And it's actually a really nice segue to a few points that I just wanted to do. And the last one was about your application and the enrolment process. What does the enrolment process look like? So what happens, we say, is once you submit an application, this is reviewed by senior leaders in our college for the applicable enrolment priority. Our enrolment priority gives an order to which the applicants we receive, and our enrolment priorities are available on our website under our enrolment policy. And so if there's a position available in the year level, we will invite summer families to an appointment to discuss your application. And this is your chance to discuss with us any additional queries or concerns that you have. And so we want to see that this conversation is a really an important and even strategic conversation in helping you to make the choice of which school you send your children to. See, because we recognise, as Deb said earlier, choosing a school is a significant decision. And it's not one that we take lightly either. So after this conversation, and if everything is fine, an offer can be made or an applicant becomes waitlisted. So that's sort of what are the steps from there. So what's next in our entire enrolment timelines? Well, for our 2023 enrolment year, we're going to begin our first round process at the start of next year. And we hope to be able to run more in-person tours as restrictions ease. So we will notify families when the opportunity to have these tours becomes available. And as I'm sure you can appreciate, our priority at the moment, though, is ensuring that our current students get through this year with as little impact as possible on their learning. So if you're considering for us 2023, we would recommend that your application form is in before the end of this year to ensure that you will be part of that first round process in 2023. Well, that's all we have that we want to present for you today. I want to just say thanks again for joining us, and we hope that this has been a good start for the journey with us. So we'll follow up this tour by sending out an application packs to those who haven't yet applied. And if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact our enrolment team at enrolments@heathdale.vic.edu.au or fill out the inquiry form on our website. So I wanted to say to you, thanks again for joining us this evening. I hope that you've felt that tonight was informative and very helpful. And we also wanted to say, I hope you all continue to stay safe during this time. And as the year comes to a conclusion and we get to celebrate Christmas, may that be a joyous time as you are with your family, friends and loved ones. So thanks again for joining us tonight. Good night. God bless.